Let's see what we got going on. How's that looking? Pretty good. If I knew how hard the setup was going to be today and just filming a simple smoking video, I wouldn't have done it. I would have not filmed at all, but I'm an hour and a half into rearranging some things, and then we had to absolutely clean out the smoker because it was an absolute just a disaster.
Hey guys, do your future self a favor. Clean out your Weber Smokey Mountain the day that you're done smoking. Trust me, I know you're tired, you're sweaty, you just want to go to bed, you just want to do other things. It's not worth it. You're going to put it off, you're going to forget about it like I did, and it's been almost a year, I think, since I got this out. And this was a disaster. I had video I was going to put in here, but it was so gross, I didn't want to ruin our cooking video. So I'm going to leave that out. But just word of warning, just do it, okay? Just get it done. I know you're gonna put it off, but just get it done.
We're doing some ribs, we're doing some pork butt. I just wanted to show you my setup for the Weber Smokey Mountain. We have the, is this the 21 inch, 21, 22 inch? I forget. It's the big Weber Smokey Mountain that's available.
This is also the last time I'm going to interrupt the video, I promise, but the cleaning threw me off. I was in the sun. It was like 98 degrees. I was like suffering from a heat stroke. I'm going to mess up a lot of things in this video today, but the meat turned out fine. Trust me.
I've got it modded out a little bit. For those of you that are familiar with the smokers in general, we have a new door that seals a little bit better. And then I've mounted this little shelf that attaches to the side. Love it. And then also one of the things that I had to get modded out, there is, I can rotate this around, got a hinge that locks so that when you're opening up the lid and you have no place to put it, this actually just kind of locks like that. So the modifications that I've done to this one here, absolutely love it. If you have a question about where I got this stuff from, put something down in the comments and then I'll try to find out where I bought this stuff from. But I do highly recommend the modifications. So what we're gonna do now is get the charcoal going. I do love using these Weber lighting cubes, not sponsored or anything like that. It just makes it a lot easier. I don't even know what they're made from, but they do a great job. So what I normally do is take the top off, put my cube down, chimney, you dig out my lighter. I've got a trash can back here that I keep under our deck with the lid on it, so it has all of the things that I need: my apple wood, the starter cubes, what else is down here, foil, my lighter, chimney. So everything is all contained in one watertight seal. We're gonna go ahead and light. There we go, it's lit. Chimney goes on top, and that's gonna take 15-20 minutes to get going. When I'm doing pork butt, it doesn't really matter for ribs because ribs are done 4 or 5 hours or so. But pork butt takes, usually, depending on how big you have it, it could go 12 hours. I've had some go 15 to 18 hours. Some just took forever, it seemed. You need the charcoal to go for a long period of time. And so I do pretty much what's called the fuse method. See if you guys can see that a little better. So the fuse, you basically put it around the outside. And you want to do this before the charcoal really gets kind of going. And what you're going to do is when the charcoal is ready, you're going to dump it on one end of the fuse, and then the fire throughout the day is just going to slowly ignite more and more charcoal all the way around, which is going to maximize your cook time. And usually I do this with gloves on so that I don't get my hands super dirty, but I was not prepared. Now the great thing about waiting for your charcoal to get going properly, you see I've got this gap here. So when we dump this, we'll dump it either on this side or this side of the fuse, and that way it'll take a while, pretty much most of the day, to get all the way around and burn. But while this is going is a good time to go get our meats ready so that when it's done here, the meats, we can just pop it on, set it, forget it, and grab some beer.
Now, everybody has their way of prepping meats. One of the things that I like, and I don't know if it's a trick or not, is putting these whole garlic cloves down deep into the meat so that when it smokes, you're getting all that good garlic flavor. So the more garlic, the better. And then just however you want to do your pork butts and ribs, we'll leave that up to you. That initial cleaning before we started smoking really threw me off. I ran out of time, so I kept it really simple, just with a basic rub and then some rosemary, granulated garlic, and some of my hot pepper flakes that we make every year.
All right, so it's time to go ahead and get the charcoal now that it's very close to being ready, and we're just going to put it onto one side. And you want to be very careful because it is hot. There we go. And then, usually I have some tongs, but we're going to have to make do. Let's see here. Because we only want the charcoal to light one side so that it'll take its time. So make sure we kind of push everything back over. Ooh, that is warm. There we go. So it is going to burn all the way around this way. And this should get us close to tonight, where I keep things easy, simple. I'm in no competition or whatever. So before I go to bed tonight, say 10 o'clock or so, and then the coals will be pretty much depleted, I'm going to go ahead and take this inside, the pork butts, because the ribs are going to get done. I'm going to ballpark about five hours from now, so around 7. The pork butts are going to have to take overnight. So instead of me having to worry about this, I'm going to take the pork butts inside and finish them off in the oven, which all the smoke's going to happen today. So I'm not concerned about that. We're going to go with some apple wood, and a little is going to go a long way. So a little there, small pieces here, and then probably something like that. All right, we're almost ready to set and forget. So we got that there. We'll put the top on. It's good. And my drip bowl, forgot to get that prepped. We'll do that real quick. Lining your bowl in foil. Well, that smoke comes in my face. It's going to make cleanup afterwards a lot easier. One more piece. And again, this is all how I do things, and I've changed and modified some things, what works best for me, so you may find some things working best for you. So there's my drip bowl, or my water pan. I don't use water. I've tried it a few times, but so all the drippings are going to go here, just make it easier to clean. I'm going to drop that in. And where is our grate we just cleaned earlier? Drop in our grate. And since this is where you have to kind of plan ahead, right? The ribs are going to come off first, so I want the ribs to go on the top rack. And the pork butt is going to come off later tonight, so those are going to go on this bottom rack, the second rack. So first thing we're going to put in are the pork butts. Give you an idea of what those look like. I love this shelf. high gauge stainless steel. I mean, you can put really heavy stuff on there, and it's mounted to the side, so we've got it well seasoned. A lot of the seasoning, because the meat's wet, is gonna almost kind of melt all the way through. Now, one of the things I do like to have also, in addition, I have my wireless ThermoWorks smoke probes. And so we've got 2 pork butts. So I've got 2 deep probes, and then we've got a temperature probe also. So we're going to mount our temperature probe first. ThermoWorks gives you this clip. I don't know if you guys can see that. We're going to mount this down below. This is magnetized, which is nice. So this can really kind of go anywhere you want. So I've got my probes. We're going to put it through on the smoke, or I'm sorry, on the Weber Smokey Mountain. You have a little gasket area over here that allows you to put your probes through. Ouch. It's getting a little warm. Technically, you probably should have this done prior to starting the fire and everything that you have in there. It's gonna be good. Better if I go this way. There we go. That's smarter, Brian. Work smarter, not harder. And so this is the receiver that's going to keep with me. And then this is our transmitter. I have here, and this is also magnetized. Oh, whoop. You guys telling me that I put these in backwards? Huh? I'm sure probably some of you watching are like, hey, you're putting them in backwards. He'll figure it out. I wonder I was struggling with it. I've got mild heat exhaustion, guys, from being out here cleaning everything prior to doing the video. All right, there we go. Sometimes I'm not the smartest person out there. All right, so these are gonna go this way. There we go. Let's move the camera so you guys can kind of see what I'm dealing with here. Okay. So you got a good peek inside. And we're gonna take our probes and try to get the center, within the center mass. We don't want the probe to go vertical or perpendicular to the meat to where it's going to pierce the meat on the bottom, because we want that center temperature. And then there's our air temperature sensor here off to the right, closest to the camera. Okay. And where's my other rack? You know what? Did I put my rack? I think I put my rack on the bottom for some reason. I didn't need to do that. What's the best way to do this without burning myself? Huh. Well, this is when you get thrown off, right? You get thrown off because you're going to do an easy smoker setup. And you come out here, but you haven't been on your smoker in a year, and it's a disaster. So you take an hour in the hot sun to try to clean everything. Throws you off your recording game. All right, so our transmitter. So that's the one air temperature and then the 2 meat temperatures. that we can keep track of. Those probes, I had them too far pushed down. So you want the two numbers initially to show as super low, the middle of the meat. So 40 and approximately 60 degrees. It's just a matter of how much I've got those pushed into the meat, and then the air temperature is 143. We want to get that to a little over 200. And that's the receiver that I'll have wrapped around my neck. But I've got to figure out what to do now with the ribs. You know, I have a rib rack. This is where we're gonna think outside the box. I have a rib rack here. So what I did was the rack that goes on the top, for whatever reason, before I put this on top here, I put that rack on the bottom of my Smokey Mountain, which I do whenever I'm searing like steaks, and I'll use that bottom rack for it. I did that just not thinking. So we're going to try to smoke the ribs vertically. There's our ribs ready to go. There we go. I knew I didn't need to freak out. We would come up with a plan. These 21-inch or 22-inch Weber Smokey Mountains can hold a ton of food. So that's why usually if we're going to smoke, I will smoke enough food to make it worthwhile, all this effort. We'll do the ribs for dinner tonight because those will be done, like I said, about 5 hours or so. Ribs are done when they're done. Let's get you guys a close-up. What we had to do. All right, there you go. So we're going to go ahead and set this down. Got our 2 pork butts. We've got our ribs now standing vertically on our rib rack because I messed up and I should have had that top rack on here, but I don't. Let's pull this one out just a little bit. There we go. It's because I want to see those inner temperatures to be somewhat similar, if you guys can see that. So now we're fairly close. Those probes are about in the same position inside that meat. Let's go ahead and set. So now what do you have to do? Is this where we get to go get some beer and we just let the Weber Smokey Mountain do all the hard work? Actually, what we got to do is we want to dial in that temperature. So you see where it says 165? I want that to be a little over 200. So between 200 and 225. Again, everybody kind of does a little different, depending on what you're doing, how fast you need to get it to go. So this is where it gets kind of fun because we've got a bunch of vents that we can kind of play with. This top vent on the top here, I always have that fully open. And then to adjust the temperature, we've got the bottom vents. We've got 3 of them that rotate. And those are going to be the ones that we're going to mess with to get us up and over 200 degrees, which it looks like we're almost there. So just in the time I was showing you in blabbing, we're at 197. So we're actually very, very close. So I may just leave it. You know, the hotter it is, the faster you're going to go through your charcoal. So it's just a matter of finding that right sweet spot. Lock our shelf into place. I'm going to put this kind of out of the sun so we don't have an issue. There we go. So that's kind of out of direct sunlight. I'm usually cooking a little bit more in the shade underneath the deck, but I wanted to get out into the light so you guys can see a little bit more. Right now, especially with the Weber Smokey Mountain in that direct sunlight, that temperature is rising pretty good, 208. So I'm going to close down that vent, one of the 3 vents on the bottom, just a little bit, and then we'll check it again in about 30 minutes. See if we have it kind of dialed in. But it's going to run a little hotter if it's in the sun. It's going to run a little hotter in the summertime because it's just hotter out. And then You kind of fine tune things depending on time of the year, how much sun is hitting your Weber Smoky Mountain. And then we'll come back here in a little bit. All right, it's been about a little over 4 hours and everybody's getting hungry. So we're going to go ahead and check on the ribs, pretty much bring them inside and then finish them off in the oven with any kind of barbecue sauce, or we'll do one just kind of dry rubbed. Let's see what we got going on. How's that looking? Pretty good.
All right, so let's fast forward to the next morning. These have been going on for close to 18 hours and internal temperature is right there. I could feel when you stick the probe in, these pork butts are ready to go. All right, 18 total hours smoking, and then overnight I threw it in the oven. Oh, jeez. It's juicy. Now, this is always the fun part, and where you know if you've done it right or not. Does the pork butt fall apart as you start pulling it aside? And this one here did a great job. Both of them did really well in the oven overnight. Again, I do that because I don't want to have to worry about the Weber Smoky Mountain outside, and just keeping it in the oven, cooking at about 200, 210 or so. It just stays in that temperature to where that fat's getting rendered and breaking apart, falling apart. This is going to turn out fantastic. Again, so many different ways for you to finish pulled pork. Best thing about this is it feeds a lot of people and it stores well in the freezer. So we always freeze a few gallon bags to eat a few months down the road. Let me know your favorite recipe for pork butts. We like to do sandwiches. We like to do nachos. And don't worry, I didn't forget. Well, I did forget to do the video of the ribs, but here's a picture of what the ribs look like when we had them for dinner that night.